I wanted to know.
Skipped out, they
Broadcast to. Agenda from.
I'll follow up. I'll talk to you.
Okay, we would like to show that already.
No, I know.
So, at this point, we're gonna plan on doing it by.
On Monday.
But if that, say, no, I don't want that, then you would just. So.
I will let you know.
All right.
I've been average.
Most of the other.
I've actually been your advocate. I want to change the name. Because it says on the words where you. Well, did I say it correctly? I did. Oh, no. Jeremiah's better goes right through the middle. Well, probably a third, might want to. It does go that way, yes. But all of a sudden, I'm sorry. Falling back, what?
No, I would get any excuse to come see you.
Lauren? We're not late.
We're not early.
You're upstairs. Having cocktails.
Martini.
So.
Martini.
Martini. And
Oh,
Rob.
yeah, and happy birthday, Jackie. Happy birthday.
I remember we had lunch with her on her birthday a few years ago, 2 years ago, and then got our COVID boosters.
Has been on her
Sick as
game.
for 3 days
Yep.
afterwards.
We have two.
in the packet,
Well, there's some resumes in the.
but you don't have any memo from the clerk's office?
Yes, we do, but it's not on the agenda, right?
So here's
Well,
my
committee
question.
appointment.
These are the two we deferred last week.
Yeah.
We didn't have all. Kate Paradise is here. Oh, talk about.
They both got approved. One of them, the one that hadn't gone to a meeting.
She actually had.
Well, thank you, yeah.
Which one?
It didn't happen. One of them went, one of them
Yeah,
went.
one went.
Yeah, but I.
Hope couldn't go because the meetings were.
Exactly.
She's
What's
Watch now.
Yeah, I love
Ready for-
these.
What do you mean?
My favorite. Oh, that's just made my day. Yeah, those are good, aren't they? Oh, favorite.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surviving. No, I'm gonna pay. Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I said,
Oh.
I saw them.
oh, God, yes. I thought they were just, no, I'm gonna, this is too much information, but I had a colonoscopy.
It's not for me. It's
So I'm sitting here. out of it.
Yeah, your stomach.
Not sure, but these things, who brought
What you're saying.
No,
Because
but I'm
it's
glad
not-
they did.
It's on the agenda. You want to have them speak ahead of them.
I'm very glad they did.
Oh,
Why do they have to speak at all? We're gonna
I think
give-
one of the things for the.
Why do they
is
receive
the
it?
second page.
Well, and also the forms they had checked.
I didn't,
It was like. Plan. For
I'm-
the applicant.
And I have that.
yeah, the one who was,
Because I talked to Susan Barker.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the resume, it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
why is she the one?
They don't.
Watch my mom.
Yeah.
Good.
Everything's fine.
Oh.
Both of them.
So you have the name?
Yeah, they're
You
in our
don't have
packet.
any content.
In the packet.
What? Printer? Yeah. No, I think everybody's
Oh.
okay.
Here,
I mean, it's not a great agenda. We haven't.
this is the hardware I bought for the.
Okay. Thank you.
Thing, and I put it on just.
Oh, thank you for trying to see.
So, yeah, we-
guys want candy?
Like, we got some.
We already spoke.
So the
I
board-
was gonna say no.
We're all set now. They've done everything they needed to do.
What's all set?
Oh, we saw, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we were just talking about it.
oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Just tell everybody.
Everybody's happy. I
We're gonna
think we
move
should
up the
just
committee
announce it.
appointments.
You want
'cause we
me
have
to talk
people
to
here
her
to
now?
talk about the applicants.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Find the names.
Is that?
Why you get the, having the clock, does that give me authority or?
I know, right? Like, I feel like it's like chess, like you gotta tap it or something.
I love this thing at that meeting on Saturday, gas backwards.
Gas backwards, yes. Whoop.
Wasn't that great? Yeah. Too bad we didn't get that.
If we don't get the zoning in. Anything else goes.
That's right.
Every question about streetlights. Well, we're real. Yeah, I would believe, there's so many.
Yeah.
I know.
Mhm.
Well, it would be a nice thing to have that road. Affordable now for the sewer. The pension, I don't.
Oh, density wise it will,
I don't totally trust developers. But.
but if it's on a property we own,
Yeah.
we can dictate exactly how they do it. So,
I didn't bring up the idea of the flow chart to at the end of the meeting.
I think that's a fabulous idea.
They're getting asked.
It's in the works. Yeah.
Task forces to have better, a little bit better communication. Because they're talking about what's going on with regard to the zoning and how it intertwines with water and all these other. things.
Yeah.
You can plan and all that.
And the email blast, if there's a way to develop a visual flow chart, that's like.
So Amy,
Yeah.
And it'll show how things
Paige
connect.
is the member.
And even
And
like
Elena
flow
is
chart
the alternate.
show where different things are, like.
For
we're
equipment.
State right now. and,
Paige
you know,
is the,
Put something in each bubble, like have a green one for wastewater.
because she's
a orange
actually
one for
done all of her stuff.
zoning.
And
And
who's,
Elena
So,
is the alternate.
yeah,
how's it, oh, well, I'll just put that,
So, yeah.
Elena.
And we
Hi,
need them both because
Suzanne.
we haven't had quorum at 2 meetings.
hi Suzanne.
We're moving the committee ones up first.
Okay, the
we're gonna-
Powerball is 412 million, so we could do everything. Ward 6 corridor with that. So I'm playing now.
I catch all that.
400 million.
Where's? Over the committee.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Welcome to the Monday, December 4th meeting of the Eastham Select Board. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. We'll start with any information that the Select Board would like to share. You're all okay? And then is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on an item that is not on our agenda? Okay, so we'll begin immediately. First thing is Kevin Galligan. He's going to talk about Cape Light Compact and street lighting
Are we gonna
initiative.
be doing
We're
the,
gonna put the-
I'm going to do that
oh,
after
after
these.
Cape, oh, Cape Light, okay.
After, before licensing, you guys do it.
Chair, all board members, staff, here with Kevin Galligan, I'm here as a consultant for the Cape Light Compact. I've been in that energy consultant field since I retired from service to Barnstable County with Cape Light Compact over years ago. And I'm here to, run down just an opportunity for East End. Just a second. Just turn my-
And Suzanne, just so you know, the printout that we just got is the same thing that's in the packet, so you're not missing any information.
With one minor revision, Jamie, I'll hit that.
Oh, there's,
Well,
To save us more money, right?
save us more, yeah.
So again, thank you for having me. For the recording that didn't pick up, I'm Kevin Galligan. I'm here as a consultant for the Cape Light Compact, and you have an opportunity in front of you relative to converting your existing roadway streetlights to LED. They currently are owned and operated, quote, maintained sort of by Eversource, formerly known as NStar Electric. You have about 36 streetlights that are currently under what's referred to as the S1 rate schedule. Thanks, Rich and staff, for sending your electric bills. I tie out pretty well to your approximate annual cost of around $7,300 a year. The spreadsheet I put together shows the proposed 36 lights converted to the equivalent lumen output with LEDs. You're looking at dropping your bill to under $1,000 a year. That would be through the S2 rate schedule, meaning the town owns the lights. And as I'll go through a little bit later, there's a process to go about that. And the one minor edit, which is on your handout, not in the PowerPoint, is the operation and maintenance is by a separate contract through Arden Engineering. I had previously in the packet included Siemens. Arden handles the O&M for this part of the Cape.
yeah,
So
it
as you-
says it in the, in our packet too. O&M contract between Arden Engineering and towns.
Excellent, great. Okay, I guess the update did come through.
No, I
So it
didn't
looks like it's
have that.
about an 86% reduction.
Wow.
So the investment in this LED change out
Yeah.
provided through the Cape Light Compact Energy Efficiency Program is around $15,000 to do all the work to change them out. It is, as I mentioned, covered as a cost-effective measure under the Energy Efficiency Program and 100% funded.
Wow.
So the next page is just to note that I have overseen the conversion through my project management role with the Cape Light Compact and now consulting for all Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard streetlights, over 16,000 of them. And Eastham is the last town, if you choose to go forward with it. The competitive procurement that's been done is they are available for you to use the contractor that's been chosen. What the scope of work includes is a GPS global position system map of each of your lights that we have already received from Eversource, but they will put together a field audit and a report that will let you know what the light was, what they're converting it to. Installations, assuming the purchase takes place from Eversource, because that's really the holdup, is once you own the lights, then you can give the contractor to go ahead to switch the lights on your behalf. So I'm assuming if all goes well, by the end of January, that could happen. And then at the same time, you would be able to put in place, as I said, a separate standalone contract with Arden for maintenance. And that would include a call for a light being out, whether you set up an 800 number here. Some towns use a method through their police or DPW, but you can report to Arden Engineering that you've got some lights out and they need attention. The other thing in the contract is if, for example, you have a development going in and you want to add lights, in that contract is a provision for a new pole, a new light. That's totally available to you to call upon if you wish. So the next slide is the next steps. If you decide to move forward, it would be great to have a vote. That would be to request the purchase of your lights from Eversource. What we've seen over the years is they will take your request. The DPU process, Department of Public Utilities, has a very strict process. Once your request goes in, there's a short period of time for them to respond back to say the net book value of depreciated property is X. Typically, I've seen it to be $1. Meaning all of your lights are so old, they've pretty much depreciated to $1. They might have replaced a few along the way, so it may be a few $100, but they will let you know what that purchase price is.
Okay.
You literally go through a purchase and sale agreement, because you are transferring property from Eversource, the utility, to the town. There will also be what's referred to as a pole attachment license, because the poles are utility property. You will actually have a space where the lights are now that will be yours, where the lights get attached to. You'll need to check for the purchase price, whether it be $1 or whatever it is. And then you'll need to add the street lights to your insurance binder, because it will be now your property to list, and that's part of the closing. Once you own the lights, I have a very short application form that basically says we're converting your 36 street lights from high pressure sodium to efficient LED. It's 100% incentive. Please sign here, and we give the contractor the notice to proceed. Any police detail, if required, would be on the town. And I suspect, given we're going into the winter, contractors can get out there and pretty much do things without interrupting any or having any safety concerns. But if you feel there's a need for that, that would be on you. And typically, after the LED fixtures are installed, a spreadsheet is put together by the contractor, sent to Eversource to make the billing change. Typically takes 2 billing cycles. So if these were in at the end of January, you're probably seeing the savings in the March, April billing cycle. So the next steps I would see would be, if you vote tonight to want to proceed, I would give a call to Cape Light Compact legal folks who have been through this many times. They would work with Jackie or Rich, whoever you designate, to go through the documents on the ownership, taking it over. I'd get the custom application form, we'd give the contractor the go-ahead, and you'd see the savings. And that's pretty much it. Be happy to take any questions.
One question, Kevin, on the documents, you indicated that this was based on 36 lights. Is that, do you know if that's what we have?
That is exactly the number of lights you have under the S1 rate schedule. Rich sent me billing you've got for Town Center. I think that's what you call it in Northeastham. Those are on a separate bill, and those are floodlights that are not considered roadway streetlights.
Oh.
But we should talk about those in another
Yes,
interaction.
please.
Any questions?
I have a
Yes.
question.
Oh,
So, oh, I didn't
Go
see.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so to be clear, we're not buying the poles. It's
Correct.
just like one little part where the light sits will be ours.
Suzanne, I can
that-
go through detail. You will be buying the bolt. So, and I've
my
gone
God.
through this, what goes through the hole in the pole, the arm, and the actual fixture. So if you saw that
Okay.
first page of the PowerPoint where it had kind of the before and after, there's a little picture of a fixture with, that's pretty much all you're buying. And the
Okay.
license agreement allows you to attach
pole.
that to the pole. That's
Okay.
the right that you would have.
And then my other question has to do with light pollution and maintaining some level of dark skies. And it may be deceptive that like the 2 pictures that were provided, one seems not as bright and then the LED seems really bright. And I feel like that's important for our community to still have some assemblage of like a darker night sky, because people do come here to see the stars. And I didn't know if it's probably not something we can handle here, but I'm curious about like the downward facing light shades. I know there's options to control light pollution from going up. And so I didn't
Exactly.
know if other people were interested in this, or if we'd have to talk to Eversource, or thoughts.
Mr. I can answer that. So the lights you have right now, the high pressure sodium, do put out this orange glow that does not have what's called full cutoff. All of these fixtures are full cutoff lights. So despite that picture that was in the PowerPoint, I think only because of the camera lens picking it up at a angle, I would suggest, if you, before wanting to proceed, if you had any concerns, just visit the roadway in Wellfleet. As you're approaching lights, like in front of Seashore, you'll actually see how you cannot see the street light until you really come within 40 or 50 feet of it, because it's directional down to the roadway. That's the nice thing about LEDs. They're directional beam as opposed to sending a glow of orange beam around you. But as you noted, Suzanne, if there are adjustments needed, there are a couple of things about the streetlights that are adjustable. You can actually onboard on the streetlight through the O&M contract. If you find the light is too low in lumens or too high, they can actually be adjusted in the field. They're field adjustable. Secondly, if, for example, you're in a residential area and somebody still finds some glare, shields can be installed around them. And we've done that in a very few cases. So there are field adjustments that could be made in the event of any backlight, uplight, or glare. But these are all full cutoff, downward facing lights.
Awesome, sweet, thank you.
Thank you. Amy.
Are these all on Route 6?
You've got some on Bridge Road, you've got some side streets, yeah.
Probably
But
major intersections, maybe. on
Major
some of those
intersections,
side
exactly,
streets.
bracket.
Okay. So this would not cost us anything out the gate, except for
Other
the
than if police
purchasing.
detail is required, and then in the future O&M. But I can say streetlights have been in Truro for 10 years, believe it or not. I was saying that earlier. So these things just run.
Well, when I first saw this in the packet, I thought to myself, haven't we done this?
Yes.
And apparently we did vote it many years
Voted it,
ago,
yes.
but somehow it never, I don't know, got sent to the
I
right
want to
people.
say 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I would add, I think you, Kate Black, come back board member at the time, did raise some concerns
Okay.
with some things, and it just got
Put
put on
aside.
the back shelf.
Okay.
So here we are.
Okay.
Here we
There we
are.
go, great.
Jerry.
Yeah, I always shudder when we have costs and Eversource put together. So I just want to, you have a fund that's going to cover this, but does it cover the licensing of the bolt and whatever, being able to put it on there and so forth? I mean, what potential does Eversource have to charge us more above and beyond what Cape Light Compact will be able to cover for us?
A purchase and sale means you are buying what is now Eversource property and taking it over as the town.
Is that,
Whatever the dollar value is, and that's an extensive agreement. It's a purchase and sale. You'll be bound to insure it, that property.
Yeah.
It's just an addition to your coverage, but then you'll revert under what's referred to as the S2 rate schedule.
Right.
Everybody on the Cape and Vineyard is under that rate schedule. It's a very attractive energy saving.
Oh, it is. I'm just curious. What does what is it? You had $100,000 grant, I think, whatever. What does that grant that's going to fund this, what does it not cover that we're going to have to cover other than
Police detail.
the police deal? But
That's
all
it.
the stuff with Eversource, purchase and sale with Eversource, it's all covered.
All covered.
Jerry, that
That's wonderful.
Eversource is required by law to provide for municipal space on all their poles. So we own municipal space and they're
Okay.
obligated to lease it to us
All right.
as part of their rate structure.
I'm totally in favor of this. I was just wondering what, I don't necessarily feel comfortable all the time with Eversource being able to charge us something. That's all. Thank you.
Aren't most of our poles owned by Verizon in town?
I think they're joint ownership.
Oh, they're joint.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
they each have their own space,
Mhm.
probably.
Yeah, their own level.
Yeah.
That
No,
bolt
Verizon
is
does own
Eversource.
some poles out, like the Nauset Light Beach Road, all around Cable,
Okay.
that area. They own a lot of poles.
Eversource does, yeah.
I guess I'm
Yeah, no,
starving.
Verizon.
Verizon
Yeah.
does, yeah.
By my house, it's Verizon. So, yeah,
Would that,
they fight with each other.
any lights that are on National Seashore property, does this cover that?
I don't know if
No,
we
these are
have-
only those that are
That we
on
pay for.
That we
East
pay
Ham,
the-
and I did not see in any of the listing, because I've gone through all the 36 lights, none are in the seashore. That would stick out like a sore thumb. It's usually US federal government. It's
Any other questions?
Art, may I ask a question?
Suzanne.
Oh, Susan.
Suzanne, I think has one.
Yes, Suzanne?
I had one more because at some point someone mentioned putting internet extenders in light posts. And I was wondering, since we're talking about lights, if that was an option or if that would be done similarly, or
That's to you, I think, Rich.
Yeah, Rich,
I
I think
can
that-
address
Yeah,
that.
Kevin knows all that.
All of these lights by spec, are Wi-Fi capable. The way that works is the infrared head that turns the lights on at dusk and turns them off at dawn, could be swapped out and made into a Wi-Fi cell. Again, that is extra cost on you if you want to go there. But the spec all provides for them to be that capable. So that you have that capability should you ever want to go there. The other thing that does is if, say, for example, you want to add more control and dimming capability. So you've got light in an area that you want to turn off. If DPW wants to get their hands into this, some communities have considered that. In Baltimore, gas and electric territory, they're actually making that a requirement. So all streetlights are addressable, they're referring to it as. That's coming as a cost to ratepayers, but like a few $100 more per light. But it's a feature and a capability if you ever wanted to do that. But great question, Suzanne.
Any other questions?
I'll move that we approve the Cape Light Compact Street Light retrofit to LED project.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Suzanne,
yes.
Amy,
Aye.
Jerry,
Yes,
Amy,
Aye.
and I'm an aye.
Thank you
That's
very
great.
much.
Kevin, great
Thank you.
presentation.
thank you.
Be in touch.
And I would love to talk about the Town Center Plaza
Absolutely.
floodlights.
Thank you. It's great. Okay, we're gonna move on to Paul and talk about the Cape Cod Tourism Destination Marketing District.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Paul Niedzwicki. I'm the CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Happy to be in front of you tonight to talk about the Tourism Destination Marketing District. Exactly what a TDMD is. This is gonna work. This is the worst part.
Maybe point it at the computer to the side. Is it on Rich's
Oh,
computer?
yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So what is a TDMD? Well, Tourism Destination Marketing District is a dedicated source of stable revenue that's used to strategically increase the competitiveness of tourism districts across the country. So this is a small self-assessment by hotels or motels on the nightly stay that's collected by the Department of Revenue, but then comes back to the regional tourism councils. There's 16 regional tourism councils in the state. Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce is the regional tourism council for Barnstable County. So how do they work? Well, they were authorized in Massachusetts in an economic development bill in the spring of 2021. They're based on a business improvement district model. So we've identified 176 hotels and motels Cape-wide that would be subject to this potentially. And we would need, according to the law, 62% of those to sign a petition in favor of the creation of the district in order for that district to happen. Once that district was created, the assessment would apply to all hotels and motels within the district. So it captures existing tourism activity, and then it reinvests that back into the communities. And unlike the rooms tax or other bed taxes around the country and other surtaxes, the benefit raised here has to go directly back to those businesses that are paying into the fund. So the funds can only be used for plan-approved initiatives and activities, and the plan itself has a 5-year term, so it has to be reauthorized every 5 years. So if we look across the country, the blue states are states that have active tourism improvement districts already, and the orange states are states that are considering them. I think we have 201 nationally at the moment. We recently have had one that was created in Portland, Maine, and a new one in Providence, Rhode Island. But Newport, Rhode Island has just reauthorized theirs. So they've had theirs for over 5 years, and Newport's a major competitor of ours. So if we look at what happens in areas where these tourism improvement districts have been put in place, on average, these districts create over 2% lift in hotel room demand. They have resulted in almost a 4.5% lift in hotel room revenue. And they really have been driving economic impact around the country. It's important to know from my perspective to notice there is that 4.5% lift in room revenue. As you may know, the Barnstable County has a special assessment of 2.75% on both short-term rentals and hotels and motels. That goes into the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund that can be used to subsidize municipal investments in wastewater. This is one way to grow that fund. So the contribution into that from hotels and motels is about, I think, 30% of the impact would increase in a corresponding amount to 4.5%. So if we look at why implement a Cape Cod TDMD, a TDMD here has the potential to grow the local economy away in a way that other excise taxes don't. And it is in many ways about competitiveness. Since the TDMD was put in place, Boston has created one with the town of Cambridge. So that what used to be the Greater Boston CVB is now Meet Boston, and they've gone from a $7 million organization to a $30 million organization. So I think if you watch or read any of the news lately, you're going to hear a lot about the Army-Navy game that's being held at Gillette Stadium this weekend. That's from the TDMD money from Meet Boston that made that event happen for them. But specifically on the Cape, because we're not Boston, what sort of impacts could it have here? You know, the Cape Cod lodging businesses, they want to self-assess in order to stay competitive. We're losing rooms on the Cape. If you look at your neighboring town of Orleans, for example, they had 13 hotels once upon a time. 3 of them have been sold to larger hotels now, just to be used to house those hotels' workforce. So they've been converted into housing. So we're starting to lose some of those rooms. That's not all bad news. Even when the Cape is full occupancy, we're at about 70% of the rooms that are counted. And that's because Cape-wide, we have a number of underperforming motels that don't operate like hotels and motels anymore. So some of that is being converted into housing. But the hotel motel industry on the Cape is losing market share to short-term rentals at a fairly rapid pace. We're up to 18,000 short-term rentals on the Cape now. And so it's becoming more and more difficult to compete with short-term rentals. One of the issues that we ran into, and we saw this with a lot of the media coverage in the spring here, coming off 2 record summers on the Cape, is a sense that Cape Cod was now becoming an unaffordable place to visit. And we are a community in a region that has really built our tourism industry on the backs of the middle class for decades. And so some people feel like they're being priced out of that. But really the middle class, protecting the middle class ability to sort of come here and create traditions and memories like they have for decades, it's more affordable in the hotel and motel industry than it is in the short-term rental. If you look at sort of the average daily rates for each and the increases that we've seen. So there's a big competitiveness issue there. So the lodging properties are at risk due to lack of investment, workforce housing, and their short-term rental competition. State funding for tourism promotion is unreliable and insufficient. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has historically underinvested in tourism. You look at Maine and Rhode Island and smaller states that spend a lot more marketing themselves than we do in the Commonwealth. It leverages existing lodging capacity to grow the commercial tax base. So one of the things on the Cape, when we build infrastructure, whether it's wastewater, transportation, water, we build for peak flow. So we're really building infrastructure for 4 weeks out of the year, last 2 weeks of July, first 2 weeks of August. So that leaves additional capacity on the shoulder seasons. So investing in these hotels and motels, allowing them to self-assess themselves, allows us to maximize that kind of economic development growth without having to bring new infrastructure. We're not talking about building new hotels. We're not talking about adding rooms. We're not talking about increasing infrastructure. We're just talking about increasing revenue and moderating the visitation. We aren't going to see a lot more people here in July and August because we're pretty much tapped out. We could see more in June, September, May, and October. So targeted promotions can help smooth those seasonal swings and support more sustainable tourism patterns, which are better for local businesses. So if we look at the case study in Boston, you can see that the Boston tourism industry, the district generated this year 22.6 million. Next year, will probably generate 30 million. We are already starting to feel a pull on our international travelers from Boston because they're investing heavily in that. The estimates for the Cape is that we could raise between 3 and 3.5 million. So it's not Boston, but it would be helpful considering that we normally get between 500,000 and 600,000 to market Cape Cod. And my predecessor, Wendy Northcross, would tell you that other areas like the Cape across the country will spend 6 million, and we spend 600,000 now. So this would help a lot. The other one that's recently been adopted is in Providence. They're using a 2% assessment on lodging for properties with 50 or more rooms, and that's estimated to generate 1.6 million for them, another competitor. So what we did in January is put together a steering committee of 7 hoteliers that represent geographically the Cape, as well as different sized hotels and motels that helped us put together a district plan. And so this really controls where the funds would go. So you can see up there, the assessment rate that the steering committee came up with was 1.5%. That's the same as the Boston Cambridge district. And it would apply to hotels and motels that had 15 rooms or more. And so there are 3 general categories that the money can be spent in. Sales, marketing, destination development, special events would be one category. Workforce and business development initiatives would be another. And then 15% they'd like to put into reserves and admin. The fund will fluctuate depending on sort of economic activity. So putting some reserves in place, I think, is a solid thing. And just to explain more specifically, when we talk about sales, marketing, and special events, one of the things that we are concerned about is the likelihood that we're going to see one or both of the canal bridges replaced, and see that work start within the next 3 to 5 years. If you look at how much we struggle with just doing the maintenance on the existing bridges in the spring and in the fall, the concern by the hoteliers and by, I think, the business community in general on the Cape is that just the fact that we are publicizing that we are replacing that bridge when the construction starts could cause an economic dislocation of people that just don't want to deal with what their perception of what the bridge construction might mean to commuting here. When in fact, the reality is that replacing the bridges would have a negligible impact on traffic compared to the maintenance work that's done on the existing bridges right now. So having some money available for public relations on the bridges to make sure that people are aware that Cape Cod is open for business as we go through a 7 to 10 year construction period for the replacement of those bridges, we think is going to be an essential part of protecting the economy on the Cape. We can also sponsor signature community events. And this is one area where we really would like to work with our local partners and our local chambers. So what we would like to do here is to take the proceeds of the TDMD and to give back to each of the 15 communities a $10,000 base amount through the local chambers, plus $10 per room. So in a community like Eastham, that would be $13,000 a year that we could give back through your local chamber for sponsorship of signature and community events. There's also direct incentives to increase hotel business. Marketing is a lot more sophisticated now. So because we have to demonstrate a return on investment here, the marketing that we do has to be targeted to hotels. So it has to be done in a way that limits sort of ancillary benefits to other businesses that are out there that aren't paying the fee. One of the ways that we do that is to provide direct subsidization back to the hotels and motels so they can provide incentives. Boston, for example, provides to their hotels and motels resources so that they can provide $150 voucher if you stay at a hotel in Boston in January to pay for parking, for example. Just one way to get more people there at a time where they have capacity and open rooms. So we would be working through incentives like that. One of the things I think that would be interesting and could happen on the Cape is that some of those incentives through the hotels that they give to patrons that show up could be targeted to serve local businesses. You know, so you get a gift card that you could use on Main Street or in your commercial district in a particular town as a way to sort of make sure that everybody's benefiting from what we're doing here. The second category, workforce and business development. What the chamber did earlier this year was to bring on board a housing coordinator just for J1 students. In 2018, we had 5,000 J1 students that supported the seasonal economy. The pandemic hit, that went down to basically zero in 2020, and we've had a difficult time building that back. We were up to about 2,122. We're up to about 2,923. But that's a potential 2,000 plus hole in the seasonal economy workforce. So we've been working with our J1 housing coordinator to expand that host network. We've been able to place over 100 J1 students this summer and expand that host network by over 60 families. So we'd like to be able to continue to do more of that. And then on the workforce housing initiatives, we want to promote private sector investments and solutions. We really need to look at hotel motel conversions, as I had mentioned earlier, and whether we can start converting some of the underperforming hotels and motels on the Cape into housing that can support both seasonal and year-round workforce initiatives. And so that's another thing that we can use these funds for. And by the way, we can't use any of the state marketing money that we get on any of these categories. So it gives us a little bit more freedom to do that. So as I mentioned, we have a steering committee that's been put together of 7 hoteliers. The funds will be collected by the DOR, then returned to the Regional Tourism Council. They're legally required return on investment, so we have to be able to demonstrate that return on investment to the hotels and motels that are paying into the funds, and the funds must be spent to directly benefit those payees. So that steering committee, if the district is, once it's enabled, will become the TDMD committee of 7 right now. So a majority of that committee would then sit on the board of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and the chamber will act as the fiscal agent for the funds. And so the steps to form the Cape Cod TDMD are to create the district plan, which we've done. We're in the process now of looking for town resolutions. Each town needs to vote to create the jurisdiction because the revenue is collected locally and runs through the Department of Revenue. Then we'll be in a position to draft a petition and gather signatures. Once we have the signatures, we will start to collect the assessment and get ready to report on return on investment. And the next step would be to renew that in 5 years. So when we look at town next steps, we need to, before we can go and get the petition put together and get signatures from the hoteliers, we need the select boards to vote on a resolution to authorize the district formation. That resolution needs to happen in all 15 towns to allow the hotels to formally petition the state to create the district. And that's what we're here to discuss with you tonight, and to make this brief presentation up front. I think you have a copy of the resolution in the package with you, but we're certainly not asking for a vote tonight. Just an opportunity to sort of familiarize you with the concept, allow you to ask questions, and then have your staff and your legal counsel review the resolution. And that's it.
Questions, Chairman?
You know, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of what I just heard. And, you know, I don't want you to take that as an insult. The chamber does great things for the businesses in town. But there were just some things that I heard that I think are a little concerning for me. One is this idea that somehow we need to encourage, I guess I was hearing mixed messages, that we need to encourage tourism, that tourism is going to drop off because of the bridge. I mean, we had sharks. This is my favorite line. Jared said this. We had sharks and they kept coming.
Yeah.
We had COVID. Everyone kept coming. A bridge isn't going to stop people from coming. Right now, we're like maxed out here. You know, these businesses don't have enough staff to maintain, you know, an influx in October. So that just didn't make sense to me, I guess. And my other concern was, you know, you talked about this idea that we have a disappearing middle class, which is true. There's definitely a disappearing middle class, not just on the Cape, but like across the whole country right now. And so this concept that somehow we're going to encourage them to come here by adding a 1.5% tax to a vacation stay that they're going to be taking. That again, doesn't make sense to me. I know it's just 1.5%, but like 1.5% adds up. And the middle class, the working class is where all of those little 1.5s end up. And the idea of endorsing that, it doesn't sit right. So I really struggle with that too. And the last thing was the idea that we'd be making a decision for businesses in town without hearing from the businesses in town. So in order for me on the board to consider anything, I would need some type of like signed agreement from every hotel and motel in Eastham that says this is something they actually want. So those are kind of my big concerns with it.
Yeah, I mean, as it relates to if you look at the growth in the average daily rate for short-term rentals and for hotels and motels over the last 4 years, it's almost doubled in many respects. But the average daily rate for hotels and motels is $250 across the board. That's the average right now. So this would be an additional $3 a night for families that were interested in visiting here. So the businesses and the hotels and motels that want to self-assess don't see that as an impediment. They see that as an opportunity to raise revenue in order to promote their businesses. And like I said earlier, this isn't about bringing more people here in July and August. You know, it's about filling some of those empty rooms on the shoulder seasons. So that's really what the hotels and motels like about this concept. That's why it's worked in other parts of the country. That's why it's working in other parts of the Commonwealth. I mean, Boston has one. North of Boston is putting together one, as is Plymouth and Springfield. So within the next 24 months, you could see as much of it as an extra $60 million spent on travel and tourism marketing in the Commonwealth. And it would really be a shame if Cape Cod were left out of that.
But
and
Boston
became
and Plymouth
less
also
competitive.
have people that can work, right? They have a bigger population.
The labor supply issue is hitting everybody,
Mhm.
you know, across the board. That's clearly one. But the labor supply issue is exclusively because of the housing situation. And, you know, part of the funds that we raise here can be used to look at workforce housing and to deal with some of those workforce housing issues.
Well,
So
I think
it
there's
is
a lot
about,
a lot of branches that are already doing that. I'd hate to reinvent the wheel with another program for that sort of thing. You know, I mean, when everybody starts doing the same thing, you're just spreading it out and it kind of becomes ineffective.
yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of a ton of efforts or initiatives. There's a lot of affordable housing initiatives on the Cape. There are not a lot of workforce initiatives that are aimed at families that make between $80,000 and $210,000. There just aren't.
Okay, I would disagree, but that's okay.
Yeah. And
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, have you heard anything from any of the Eastham hotels,
yes,
motels?
yeah. Patty Bureau is on the steering committee. So she represents the Sheraton Four Corners. And I think her company owns almost half, like 40% of the rooms that are in town. So they've been supportive of it. I think we'll have the kind of support for this in this town, and we can do that anyway. Part of this is the process. We have to, in order for the hotels to sign a binding petition, the jurisdiction has to be created. So the towns have to vote to create the jurisdiction before we can get the signed petitions. But we could certainly get letters from the businesses in town to support that. We'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I would clearly want to talk with them once it's created. If if we approve and it's created, the 62% is needed to create it and have the surcharge is 62% across the Cape. It's not 62% in each town, is it?
It would, yeah, 62% across the jurisdiction. As a practical matter, though, we'd
Across
have to
the-
have 62% in each town in order to get 62% across the Cape. So you'll have at least 62%, I think, in each town. But the way to demonstrate that is to have the hotels and motels in Eastham send you a letter.
Yeah.
Because there's 7 of them. So I think we can facilitate that.
Understand. Thank you.
So it's, 7, if there are 15 rooms or more,
Yes.
Yeah. that's it.
That's it. So bed and
So-
breakfasts are not covered by this. That's just part of the statutory language that doesn't allow that. And short-term rentals are not. So they're not covered by this either. So it's just those 176 properties that we've identified.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think the more money we can get to promote ourselves and promote tourism is beneficial, and it's going to be the hotels that decide whether they want to do it or not.
Right.
I would like if you could facilitate with those 7 hotels to get something that says they are interested or not interested in it. And I think if they are interested in it, I think that we should create that district. I think
Absolutely.
it's beneficial.
Yeah, we will facilitate that.
Or Suzanne has a quick.
Yeah, one more.
Amy?
Since we have you here, I spoke to Lauren about this the other day when I talked to her. You come over the bridge onto the Cape. There is not one sign that says Eastham on it until you get to the Rotary.
Okay, we'll fix that.
Right on.
Pretty good. That would be good.
Kevin and I talked tonight about getting the Rotary's name changed.
Because it's
To
in
the
the,
Sam Rotary?
it's
Yeah,
in
no, well, he wouldn't go for that. He said we
Well,
could do the
3 out of the
East
4
Orleans Rotary.
3 out of the 4 exits on that Rotary are in Eastham.
Yeah,
It's a very good point.
yeah.
Um,
But there isn't anything that directs people to us, so that would be great.
Just a couple would be fun,
There's
but
there's a potential negative there. When I was a kid coming up, I hated Orleans because of the backup of the Orleans Rotary. So, you know,
Or Suzanne has a.
So
I'm sorry, Suzanne.
it's okay. I have a couple questions. One, if you've had success in other towns already, I was wondering who else has maybe already approved this on Cape?
Nope. We're just starting now.
Are we
So
your first town?
You're the first board that we've appeared in front of. Yes.
Okay. I agree. I would kind of like to hear from businesses in town
Yeah.
before making a decision about it. I also think it's a little weird to have people who already chose to come here and spend their money here subsidize advertising for other people to come here. And when we added a tax on short-term rentals, it went to housing, and it was, I think, more than the 1.5. But there was a whole conversation of like how this is the reason why people aren't going to book here, and because like all of the fees and taxes add up to be whatever 15%. And for housing, I'm like, well, this money we take and we put directly towards housing initiatives, or we take the money and we put it towards like other projects that are really beneficial to the community. And so I guess I'm just a little concerned about adding another tax. Although I will say that your presentation was more useful than I guess just what we had in our packet. Yeah, those I think are my comments. I don't know if there was a second question in there.
Well, if I may, Suzanne, on Suzanne's point, Paul, I'm sure you recall several years ago, there was a Cape Cod Chamber commissioned a study on the competitiveness of raising the short-term rental tax
Yeah.
and we're up to 14 point something. And wasn't there some concern that once we hit 15% that our competitiveness would decline or
Yeah, nationally, that number is 20%.
20? Okay.
Yeah, once you hit 20%, which a lot of places around the country are, the surcharges on for hospitality stays are at 20%. Once you hit 20%, it starts to have a potential impact. Most of the Cape Towns are between 16 and 18 currently. So but I rely on the hotels and motels. I mean, they're the ones that would be self-assessing and actually charging their customers more because they see value in it. So, you know, I sort of defer to them on if they think an additional 1.5% for this would scare people away or diminish business.
Can I ask another question? Or were you gonna ask a question? I can't see you, so.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Could you maybe go over the part about how this would impact housing? You went through a couple benefits of what could be done with the funds raised, and I didn't quite get that part.
Yeah, part of it, we can work to attract private capital out there that we've got two companies that are already working on the Cape converting hotels and motels, but there are some drawbacks to converting some of these properties. Some of them have failed Title V systems that don't pencil out. But there are other ways that we can look at converting hotels and motels to support the workforce, so we can deal with the labor supply shortage that we're dealing with. We do it for the seasonal workforce through the J1 host program. So that's a little bit different. Having some congregate living spaces and converted hotels and motels is what a lot of the larger hotels are already doing. But what happens is once you drop, we've got 5, 6, 7 bigger hospitality sort of organizations that can afford to do that, which means we have 150 that can't afford that. So looking at a new model, one that might be able to condominiumize those efforts to make them more affordable to house workforce for smaller properties is part of what we want to do.
So it would be advertising specifically to get a developer to come in? Is that?
I think part of it would be working with towns to identify properties that they might want converted. I mean, we do have several towns that are in that predicament where they've got underperforming hotel and motel properties that they would like to see converted into housing. It's better use for them. But some of this doesn't quite pencil out, so we might be able to subsidize some of those efforts or to attract other resources to make those conversions more financially viable.
Before we leave this, Jim Russo's here. Would you like to comment at all, Jim, on this? Sure. Come on up.
Thank you. I think there's some great advantages to this program, but I think first of all, the weight is upon those 7. I thought there were 6, but those 7 units that would qualify to get involved in this. And if they're comfortable with that 1.5% surtax, then I think it's behooves you to agree with them and let them work with it.
Okay.
I think that it's obvious we've been fighting for years. When I was on the Cape Cod Chamber board, there was always an issue about the amount of money that we get from the state to promote, and it's so little for the whole state, not just what we get on Cape Cod. So this would be a big help to be able to generate these kinds of funds that are dedicated just to Cape Cod. And we do go after an international market, and that's big with us especially in October. We get quite an influx, but that isn't as strong today as it used to be. So to be able to continue that and build that back up, they're looking to come here. The, conversion rates right for the foreign market, we do very well. And you have people in late October and early November, we have several groups that come from Germany. Or had been on a regular basis. I think you want to keep that up and bring even more of that business in, because that makes, at that time of year, is a huge difference to us out here, especially on the Outer Cape.
Okay.
So I think, we heard from a couple of our members that they're pretty concerned about the local business impact. And if you could, if they send us letters or something,
Right.
in
Sure.
the,
Well,
I think
Short one to hear.
Paul's agreed to do that.
Yeah.
Is that right,
but I mean,
Paul?
Jim is obviously closer contact
yeah.
with these people
Yeah,
too.
I can
so-
reach out to them also.
But
Right.
either, I
And-
guess either party, but
Well, why don't
I
we
think
work
that's
on it
imperative.
separately? I know what Paul's doing. I'm kind of in line with that. Why don't I go take it from another approach, being a local rep and
Sure.
and getting a feel for it, and I can report back to you.
Would be wonderful.
Great. Once we get those, we can bring this back before the board.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much. Anything
Can I
else on that?
also add, I would take comment from anybody either. So like if there's residents in town who have
All right.
feelings on the matter, we'd be happy to hear from them as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of our residents feel pretty stressed out come shoulder season when we still are dealing with a high capacity of tourism. So I don't know if that's exciting for everybody.
Let's hear.
Okay, our next item has been delayed, the opioid presentation. So we're going to move on to licensing. Before we do that, I want to change the agenda slightly. In our last meeting, we had appointments for Paige Mansfield and Elena Eisman. We were not able to accomplish that because we didn't have all the paperwork. We now have all the paperwork. I don't know, Kate, if you guys want to say anything, I mean, we're pretty clear that we have the signatures and we have everything we need. So we'd like to go ahead with those two appointments.
All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion to appoint Paige Mansfield as a member of the Board of Health and Elena Eisman as an alternate member of the Board of Health.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Suzanne,
Yes.
Jamie,
Aye.
Jerry,
Yes.
Amy,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thanks for being patient.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
By the way, they
Sworn in.
need more people on the search committee.
Oh.
So if anybody's got any ideas, let Kate know so that she can get some more members.
Search.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. On the licensing, what I'd like to do is combine these all into one motion. Is there anyone that has any issues with any of these?
Oh, boy.
I just have a question on two of them. On the Royal Tie on page 48, it has the hours of operation 12 PM to 9 AM. I think it's probably goes to 9 PM. It's on page 58. Did I get the page right? Am I on the right one? But
It's the first one, Royal Tie.
I'll tell you. Yeah, days and hours of operation right near the bottom. Right above the red on page 58. I'm sure it should be 9 PM. I'm positive. We just want to make sure that that's known. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed
Can
to
put
something,
it
you
on the
know,
license, basically, we can.
or on the
yeah.
license. Okay, that's fine.
So it's 9 PM.
I think it would be 9 PM. Someone else isn't here, but I know they're not open all night.
Okay.
I don't. Hmm?
He's watching.
Yes, I understand. It's one of the sad things of being older. But anyway, the other is just a question. We've seen the the insurance certificates, and every one of them is $1 million or a little more. There's one in this packet which is 500,000. Do we have any requirements on the insurance certificate? I'm just asking this as a general ask. Is that within the realm or what?
Yes, it should be $1 million or more.
Maybe I read it wrong.
Some are 3 and 1 and others are
Which one was it?
Maybe it's page 128, Willie's World. I thought it said 500,000, but I could have read it wrong. So I apologize if I did to everyone, including
What
Barbara.
page, Jerry?
Hmm?
What page?
128.
Certificate of liability insurance. 500. No, it's disease policy. limit.
Disease policy, were the others
Disease
higher? Did I read it wrong?
Each accident.
Accident 100,000.
Yeah, it's saying 100,000 on the others. I don't see a million.
For a disease policy or general liability?
That's a disease policy. Then it has accidents as 100,000.
I can't figure out what page is 158.
I just don't know.
No,
I
it's
don't see
120,
anything.
128.
Yeah. that's,
128.
Page
general.
128. I'm sorry, Art.
That's Willie's World.
Yeah, and I just didn't see it, and I don't know if there was because every other one I saw was at least $1 million, and it could be that I can't read this policy right.
We're gonna defer Willie's.
To the next meeting.
Okay,
So we'll check that.
we'll check. Great.
We're gonna defer Willie's.
I have no problem with putting all the others together in one.
Check.
Make a motion.
Need a motion. Okay, Suzanne.
For items 1 through 7.
Yes. So, I will need a motion to approve common victual license for Royal Thai Cuisine, common victualler beer and wine and malt for off premise for 7-Eleven, common victualler all alcohol on premise and annual entertainment license for Eastham MA F&B Sheridan 4 Points, a common victualler for beer, wine and malt on premise for Sapco Incorporated Basco Grill, a all alcohol off-premise liquor license for Town Center Package Store, a common victualler and all alcohol premise for Chase's Dad Incorporated Local Break, and a beer, wine, and malt off-premise for Eastham Shell.
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Suzanne?
Yes.
Amy?
Aye.
Jerry?
Yes.
Amy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Sorry.
Okay, let's move on to water rates.
No, town manager report.
Not according to this.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Whatever you want to do, I'm just going by
I'm going
this.
By the old, one, that's.
First thing is, yeah, you come later. You change your picture too.
I know.
Water rates.
Wait, did we need to move the number 8 at all?
We
No.
did.
We
No,
did. It
we're
was part of-
next
We
next
deferred
meeting.
that till the next meeting.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Yes, I'm on about the water rates.
I guess so.
So in my mind, a long time coming. We've made great progress on implementing the water project over a number of years. And we're, I'd like to say nearing 50%, but maybe a little bit shy of 50%, 40% of connections of those that can connect. And we haven't revisited the rates in a number of years. Back several months ago when I started this process, the best information we had was that we should be targeting about a $600,000 amount for operating. And it also was obvious that we need to start setting aside some money for capital maintenance and repairs, which is coming up, which is identified as about $150,000 a year as a starting amount for a total of $750,000 of revenue that needs to be raised. Unfortunately, after a meeting today, I'm afraid that might not be quite enough, but I'm sticking with this rate because, we're asking for some good increases. And so I think we need to see how it shakes out. But with that being said, I want to preface all this is based on analysis of data, usage data from fiscal year 23. So July 22 through June 30th, 23 is the usage reflected in calculating these rates. So we're not going to, if these rates were adopted or some variant of them, we're not going to generate this exact amount of money because water usage will be different. It'll be more, it'll be less depending on weather type of things, right?
Right.
So we can really only do our best. And I didn't account for any of that variation. So the first page is a summary page, but I'm going to ask you to look at the next page first, which is scenario, current scenario, I should say, which is the current water rate structure, which is 4 tiers. We have a tiered structure, the first tier being 1 gallon to 3,750, then 3,751 to 7,500, then 7,501 to 12,500. And then a tier 4 for over 12,500, and those have various rates associated with them. Based on that, this was kind of my sensitivity testing. That generates my calculation is it should generate about $630,000, which we more or less did. We were in the ballpark of what actually came in for that year. So I felt good that my methodology, analyzing the water data by user, by tier, was working. So I go to scenario 1, which is the next page. And scenario 1 was simply, I should also mention Kim has spent a lot over at the water department, spent quite a bit of time with me on this too. So I want to congratulate her and thank her for her efforts. But she also did a lot of the analysis of what our surrounding communities, particularly Orleans, charging. And so some of the initial things kind of stemmed from that comparison. But scenario 1 is a changing the base fee. And I put the change right in the header here. So scenario 1 is the current base, but going up from a $96 minimum fee to a $125 minimum fee, and a 10% increase on all the rates on the existing tiers. And of course, you have different levels of water usage, which means that different water rate payers hit the different tiers at different times, depending on how much water they're using. But it's not only for a year, but it's also by each billing period, which is each of the quarters listed here. So I kind of had to do it 4 times. And based on the bottom line is that scenario 1 generates about $737,000 of revenue, which is a little bit short of what our initial goal was. So scenario 2.
Rich, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You show the number of users at each one of the tiers. Which one of those tiers would be the standard homeowner?
It's all over the place.
It's all over?
Yeah. And I have it's a great question, and I have some test case specific accounts at the end of this that will tell you exactly what the impacts will be.
Thank you.
Unfortunately.
Scenario 2 is, as you see in the header there, the $125 base fee, the 10% increase. But now in this case, I'm adding a new tier. So instead of stopping at anything over 12,500, the new tier kicks in. It goes from 12,500 to 25,000, and then the top tier being anything over 25,000 gallons.
That would be per quarter?
Per quarter. So that's hitting high volume users. So scenario 2 is the same as scenario 1 for the vast majority of people, but very high volume users are now going to get an extra rate. We go from $8.25 to this top tier being $10 for the new rate. That scenario generates $770,000, which is in the ballpark of what we're looking for.
$1.75 increase.
Scenario.
That just generates $33,000 more by
Yeah.
just adding that tier,
Yep.
basically.
Creating a new bracket.
The other thing I want to play around with and tease out a little bit in this analysis is just my experience being around. And if you want some more information on this, I'm happy to get into any level of detail you want, but for sake of this presentation, which I'm assuming we'll probably have at least 2 hearings on, so don't feel like you have to get all the answers tonight. But I did have, some issue with our tier structure. For the first tier, for example, is extremely small. 1 gallon to 3,750 gallons. You very rarely see that level. And maybe that was created for seasonal users that aren't having much usage in the off season. And that's really to their benefit. A much more common one is for example, what Orleans would have. And so this scenario 3 is the $125 base fee, the 10% increase, the new tier over 25,000, and drop that bottom tier and make it from instead of 1 to 3,750, make it 1 to 7,500 gallons.
And how much would that increase the tier 1?
It would be a 292% increase. For tier 1.
Well, tier one, the existing tier one goes away.
It goes away, but the current
current
tier
people-
ones would give a 292% increase.
Because they'd be entering a new.
Because it goes from a 1.8 to 5.25.
Because of that, you also would have to modify the other middle tiers. So the second tier, or now the third tier, is the third tier, which would now become the second tier, goes 7,500 to 15,000, then 15,000 to 25,000, and then the over 25. That's scenario 3, and that generates 800.
Yeah, you increased tier 3 from the top from 12.5 to 15. Yeah.
So it takes you a little bit longer to reach the middle tier rates, but you're getting charged a little bit more in the first tier.
Yeah.
And this scenario generates about $830,000, which is more than our target. So once I've got a kind of a case scenario where I've had a little bit above, a little bit below, I kind of tried to smooth it out, knowing that this is potentially a big increase to contemplate. So the final scenario, which I don't have a page on, but it's basically scenario 3. But instead of going up to the suggested $125 minimum fee, I just dropped it, I rounded it from 96 to 100. So it's scenario 3, but $100 minimum fee instead of 125.
So it's $25 off each bill.
And if you go back to the very first page now, which is the summary page of all that, you'll see a summary of all this. The top line being the base rate. Then the second line being the rates for each tier. And then the middle, that's kind of the middle towards the bottom, the annual rate revenue provided. Scenario 4, which is coming in is kind of how I'm leaning, would generate $774,000, almost $775,000. And that would provide us for about a $600,000 operating budget and about $150,000 a year to put towards our capital reserve for water.
Right.
And now to Art's question and maybe Jerry's question as well, the very back of the packet, I did an analysis of very specific users.
Yes, few here, or a couple here anyway.
A couple of you are here. So we got the average user and we got the median user and we got Jackie BB user.
Okay,
Sure.
So
I'm in a class all my own
You
for
got-
that year.
This is private information here. I look like a water hog. God.
That was.
Oh, this is helpful.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. Go ahead.
This is helpful, actually. This
It is
great.
very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see how much.
Conceptualizes.
Is
Yeah.
that west?
Yeah.
It goes from
Real.
tangible
Is
to
that west,
conceptual.
bottom
Thank you
up?
for doing this.
Oh,
That's-
Barry Shaw.
No,
Very
water,
sure.
water project manager.
Oh, yeah, that's west.
That's west, so I'm in line
But-
with west. That's
Yeah.
my,
You know a lot more than me. Boy, you were bad.
turns out all these,
Year, I'm telling you, it was half that.
It's a
this
bad
year.
year.
Well,
God.
you had a pool, don't you?
It was not the pool, it was, I had a leak. I had a leak that year
Oh,
and
Lee.
we had to build a pool.
But it's interesting to see.
yeah.
so we'll
When I
start with
saw
median.
that, I was like, did Jackie have a leak?
A leak, pool and irrigation. Yeah.
All right.
3 strikes, you're out.
So the median user, which
Like
is kind of the
Hudson
second
Towers.
row there, under the current scenario,
Median.
it's going from 138 and some change to 177 and some change, about a $39 increase.
Rich, in this case, is median,
50%.
yeah, no, I know what median is. Is median better to look at than average? In this case, when you have 1,200, you have more than half.
No idea, Jerry.
What you, okay.
That's why I have very specific
So
people.
stop, yeah, I understand. Because the issue, we have when I add it all, we have 2,200 users, at least in your
Right.
examples. And you have 1,200 users in the first 2 bills are just paying the tier 1 rate. That's more than half the town. Now, I don't know the number.
Resident-
Makes
Yeah,
a lot of
I
sense
was
to me,
gonna say,
conceptually,
right.
Theoretically, right?
Theoretically, that way we're,
Elderly and part-time.
right, in the summer, we have 350 or so, I can't remember the number, but it's on there, 350 for the full-time users. One of the questions that it just raises that people ask is when you look at your list of how much specific users pay, the highest percentage increase is on those that use the least amount of water. And I don't know, and I just ask is if you had any policy decision looking at that you kind of recommend. I know this is not a final recommendation. We're going to be talking. This is just putting some stuff up to us. So it's not that, but just looking at it from that perspective, that we're looking at these are permanent residents, the lowest
No,
water
not
user gets the
necessarily
highest.
Not necessarily permanent residents.
Well, these here.
No.
Oh,
Well,
well, the examples here.
In the examples, I want to use the examples. In the examples, the lowest water user has the highest percentage increase.
Yeah.
And
I think I try to reconcile that in my mind, and I understand that perspective and I get that for sure.
Mhm.
But I think the bottom line is our rates are very low.
Yeah.
And
They're
so,
too low to cover our costs.
And I, yeah.
no, I understand. Listen, I fully agree. We have to have a capital packet, and I have only one other thing on the capital thing, but on capital, we have to start collecting that. What was our expenses? What was the operating expense? You've got 600,000 here. Were we close to that last
we were
last
about,
year?
I think the budget was about 525 last year. But we've got some new contracts that are being renewed for operations and billing.
And
We're
they're
gonna have to start taking
going
a
up.
look at, because those are going up, so we need to come up with some.
As we get more customers too, they are going up
right.
drastically.
Yeah. No, that I understand, but we also get that base fee too, which helps. I mean, it's all, since we don't have a full system yet anyway, we don't have it yet. It's kind of iffy. The only other thing I want to raise to you, which is not necessarily fully part of the rates, but looking at it when we create a fund. One of the things that I always raised, even on the finance committee was that there are certain things that potentially taxpayers should cover and not water ratepayers. For example, maintenance of fire hydrants. That's not Jerry Searcell water user, and not, or excuse me, I don't have water yet because my plumber has a bad back, but at the end of the month I will. But Art would pay for fixing fire hydrants right now. I wouldn't. You also have, and we've talked about this, we also have the high school, the elementary school, and all the town buildings, which are users, but we don't get any revenue from, but they are covered by us. There's also, on the flip side, Jackie, you, and others who are not paid for out of the water fund spend time working on the water fund, and that should be paid for by the user, not necessarily the taxpayer. And the thought that I think you had, that we talked about, was that it probably is a wash between the town buildings and what you pay, but it would be nice to see what the rates would be for the high school, the elementary school, and all the town buildings, those put together, those three things, to see how much money, in essence, the revenue foregone that the water ratepayer is covering.
So you might recall, Jerry, a couple of years ago, we did do that exercise. Not saying we shouldn't do it again. We ought to, probably every 2-3 years, just to reassure ourselves and keep it in memory, right? But when we did it a couple of years ago, there are costs we could have charged to the water fund.
Yes.
That we didn't.
Yes.
And likewise, perhaps were revenues we could have earned from some of these entities you mentioned that we haven't. And by looking at them together, we realized that it was pretty close to a wash.
Yeah.
So why go through the trouble of doing X just to have to do Y to end up in the exact same spot? Doesn't mean that if we were to do it as of today, that we're going to get the exact same result, or maybe that discrepancy or variance is growing, and that would be good to know.
No, it would be good to look at as we go through through this, to get just those numbers to look at, because I think it is. Look, I know you and Jackie spend time on the water stuff. Now you spend more now than you probably will when it's running generally, because we're still in the building phase. But once that's done, you're still going to spend time on it, and the taxpayers are paying for your salaries or your compensation package, and the water ratepayers should be paying for that portion of it. But you're right that it probably is a wash, because the taxpayers, in a perfect world, the taxpayers should be paying for whatever the cost would be for Nauset High School,
Isn't the
for
high
the
school
elementary, no, for
one?
the
The middle school.
They also didn't charge us for the easement for the well. The well is.
right,
Yeah.
and so it was.
My deal. I didn't.
It was a deal long ago. So, and we were living with it. And the elementary school, and then then collectively the library, et cetera. It would be nice to see it so we can figure it out. Because I'm a true believer that you don't want to have subsidies. You can make a policy decision to make those subsidies, but let's consciously make that policy decision.
And there's lots of philosophies on that. I mean, one of the things you didn't just mention it, and hopefully we won't be talking about this too much, because I think it's a bit too early, but part and parcel of all that, which other things I've heard over the years on water rate discussions, the big thing that comes up when you talk about charging general fund or operating budget cost to your water enterprise is you always, when you have the opposing view, which is we should be charging a fire protection fee, and that would be a way for making sure your taxpayers are paying.
Is everybody still?
Well, that's true. There's a lot of ways to look at it. And when you have two separate things and you don't have, I mean, if everybody had town water, it's not a question. It doesn't matter that much. But because we have more than half the town not on town water, that's it. The only other thing that had you thought of in trying to get part-time residents to join in, are we hurting any effort on that by really jacking up that what is currently the tier 1 rate? That's I don't know, just raise it.
I was gonna, do you mind if I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was gonna mention this earlier, but then it seemed to steer away, but since it's back on that, I think it makes sense if you think about any other commodity that's out there, that's the scenario, right? When you buy 10 things, you're gonna get them at a cheaper price than when you buy one.
Mhm.
And, I see it in business, I see it when I go to the grocery store, and it makes sense. As much as I don't love, no one likes to see a rate go up, right? But it makes sense that's how it should be. If I'm using a lot more water, I would expect to be charged a little bit of a lower rate because of the amount of the product I'm consuming as a consumer. And when I am consuming less, I will be paying a premium on the fact that I'm doing that.
This is actually opposite of that.
This is opposite.
The high users will be paying more.
Yeah.
What Jerry is saying is because the low users pay such little money, the increase will seem greater to them.
Oh.
Depending on what
It's a
scenario.
percentage.
Scenario 2, it's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
For everybody.
Yeah, but does scenario 2 bring the right amount of money?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, 770. That's
It's,
over.
you said it was on the cusp. You said it wasn't.
No, that summary sheet kind of shows it. So scenario two,
Oh, it all comes from the base rate, basically.
yeah, it's coming from the base rate. So the scenario 4, which is kind of where I was leaning, brings in just about the same amount of money, but you're only paying $100 on the base rate instead of 125. That's why scenario 2
And the low
approximates
users,
it.
the low users want to pay less on that base rate.
Right, that really hurts the low,
Right.
that hits the low users, yeah.
Except that
Guess-
you do away with tier 1, so then they're paying more.
I guess that's how I felt. I mean,
Right.
honestly,
It's a swap.
I mean, the only reason it seems like so much more is because this niche, this tier 1 that exists right now
Right.
is so ridiculously low, honestly.
Yeah.
Nobody has anything like this.
Right.
So
Now, everybody basically, to understand, everybody pays the tier 1 rate. You pay $1.08,
Right.
you
for
pay
that first portion.
$1.80 for the
that
first portion, and then you pay for it
Right.
as you go up. So everybody, all of us, everybody who's a
I
water
You
user
should be
pays
encouraged
part
to
of it.
use less water.
Yes, and if you go to Stop and Shop and you buy a gallon of water, This is 1,000 gallons.
Yeah, no, yeah,
$1.
listen, I
Okay.
understand. This is not, this is,
1,000 gallons for $1.
But Jerry had the
Now,
point of,
that's the deal.
yeah,
you know,
that's the
in
deal.
my sensitivity analysis of all the, you know, the lowest use participant had a biggest increase. That's true, and she happens to be a year-round resident. But what is also true, I believe, and I guess I didn't tease us all the way out to be definitive about it, but intellectually, I think this is true. You have a lot of non-residents that are taking advantage of
Oh,
this
yes.
extremely low rate because they're just not here for.
They're not here, they're in the winter. Yeah, that's right. That I understand.
To
fully.
adopt this, I would imagine that, you know, to the extent there's any complaining about it, it would be them because they're getting hit more from, because they're
lot of
gonna
that,
be at a
yeah.
higher rate from
They're
less
July
use.
and August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I appreciate, just kind of, you know, when we set these rates, we're in essence going to be setting policy parameters, and we need to know what the at least have a discussion or know what the policy parameter change is.
And I think we're here, this is, you've had these rates for 7 years now?
Been a long
This would be
time.
the first increase. Whereas we're approaching that 50% mark, I think it's appropriate to have the increase. And then I would suggest that we probably revisit this every other year or maybe every third year at the most. To keep up as we add more people.
So that we don't have to do this big an increase.
Right.
And
No,
that
We're
might-
gonna have to meet as water commissioners to do this.
Yes.
Yes. Now, the only other question I have is, as far as we know, the cost per gallon or the cost, the operating cost per gallon or per 1,000 gallons, probably easier. In the winter is basically the same as in the summer, or does the operating cost go up because of economies of diseconomies of scale, or does it go down because of an economy of scale, or is it pretty much flat?
No, I get what you're saying. I considered that and I think you could reasonably think that there's some variation to that, but I'd say it's negligible. It's pretty constant cost.
Pretty flat. Okay. Thank you, Rich. I'm sorry to
No,
take
good
up,
stuff.
and all of you take up all your time.
Did have one final point I wanted to raise in that, and it could might be a different vote or a different consideration for you. You could consider them separate. But it did occur to me that if we're going to start charging users money, in the rate to cover capital costs that are in the future, that anyone that's not connected is kind of getting a free ride. I mean, if you're paying for just the operating costs, you're getting,
that's the point you were, yeah.
you're paying for what you're
That's
getting
another-
type of
you
thing.
gotta have a-
But now you're paying for capital costs that's in the future. And if you're not connected, you're not paying that capital cost. So
Right.
another suggestion I would have is if you vote
Yep.
these rates and you start to fund some capital through the rate,
Yes.
that we'd at some point and perhaps say, when our work is done in July, another year from then, so perhaps like a July 1/25 or after, that if you haven't connected, that you now need to pay a connection fee.
Yeah.
And that's to capture,
Right.
foregone capital rate
Yep.
revenue that you
Absolutely.
Right.
escaped.
And that fee would go to the capital.
Yes.
Is that with the money for
Funded
well
there.
clean with the drive-in, that it's all gonna go into our capital?
Capital.
Yeah, we haven't really figured that out yet. We're still trying to figure that out.
But that's the idea
Yeah.
of having them.
Yes,
pay to
have them
connect.
pay extra, yeah.
Because we've all been paying for
Oh,
7 to
yes,
8
our
years.
annual
Yeah.
amount will go right into.
I agree fully with that, because we should all, the water users should contribute to that capital fund. And if you're a Johnny come lately, I mean, I've got a well and I wait till it's just about ready to go 10 years from now and then hop in, I should have I should contribute something to the capital fund.
So, easy math, if part of your cost that you pay is $100 a year and you defer connecting for 5 more years, we've lost $500 of revenue that went to our capital for each of those users,
Yep.
So the idea would be, we'll come up with one connection fee, so to cover all the installation, system development, element charge, and whatever the cost of the meter is type of thing.
That's fair.
The one conclusion I've come to is that Jackie and I are supporting the whole water system.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
I just have my
Thank you,
bills
Jackie.
$46 for this. So.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank
we
you.
ready to move
Quarterly,
on?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's portable.
That's in our defense. We did have a teenager And I do lots of laundry.
I don't have a teenager.
Teenager, lots of laundry.
I bathe a lot.
And the pool.
I bathe a lot.
You must.
I bathe at
No,
least,
not a
at least
bad
twice a week.
At least twice a week.
Okay,
Blame it on.
we want to talk about the
Oh,
the other,
department fees.
the other
other
rates.
fees.
Yeah, they were listed
Paul,
before.
Paul's sitting back there waiting.
We should all chip in and buy Paul some coffee.
No, then he can sleep and come back tomorrow.
But we spent all Saturday with him, so he can, he's all right. You know, this is.
He also spent.
I know, you know, this-
It was time well spent.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so
It
who's
was, it
presenting
was.
this? Paul,
This is
you?
all Paul.
What is this, the building fees?
Yes,
Building, plumbing,
plumbing,
gas.
gas and
I
electric,
mean, I don't think he needs to present it.
No,
does
No,
he?
I think it's pretty, I do.
pretty
I have one
straightforward.
question.
They'll sit right back
Questions.
there.
We have some
Any
questions, yeah.
I'll make it worth being here. One of the line items was window door replacement, re-roofing, re-siding, express permit. It says currently it's 50 per item, going to 90 per item. So does that mean for every window being replaced, it's $90? Just want to clarify.
Yep, that's how it's set up. That's
Whoa.
right.
It's not,
Really?
if you
It's
do
not to me.
windows and then add a door, you'd have to do doors and then siding and roofing.
Window, door,
Seems like a lot, right?
Wow,
That's a lot.
Well,
but it's now $50.
Which is also a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
That's $900.
I've got 16 windows. That's a lot of
I
money.
think,
Everything else
Money.
didn't like set off that. It was the per item thing that made me kind of like take
actually, I think
pause there.
Justin is on the,
Okay.
he may be able to correct me
1% of
for that if
Construction
you're there,
costs,
Justin.
whichever is greater.
that's commercial.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, wait, this is,
Do we look at commercial? No, it's 90.
Is Justin on? Can he answer that?
no, this is
Yeah, he
residential.
said
Oh,
it's-
yeah, the 1% is commercial, yes.
Justin, are you there online?
It's 150 per item. for
150
commercial.
per item. Whoa,
Yeah, he
Right.
got a.
I need candy.
it's over here.
I have some candy corns still.
Oh, Jesus.
She's a plenty of it
Jesus.
there. No,
Been saving them for when I'm really tired.
Evangelicals.
I like sweet Jesus.
They're delicious.
Oh, did he jump off?
Did he run away?
Well, I would.
Justin, you muted.
Oh, he's brought him into the.
Oh, okay. He was like, I'm out of here.
Take these people.
Yeah, Paul, can you hear me?
What's wrong with them?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
if you could-
we can hear you.
Thank you, Justin.
It's
could just-
$50, you could do 16 windows, or $50, you could do one window.
That's what I thought.
It's
Oh.
$50, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
not per window, no.
$90.
And then if
It's
we
the
add a
permit,
roof,
just the
that's
roof.
another $50.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
exactly.
Because it's a
Or
different
90,
category.
90
Yeah.
now. Oh, okay, that is
All right.
reassuring. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
That's, okay.
Yeah, we're good with that now.
Ed, one question on, concerning looking at it, it's not a lot, but we tried to encourage people to put on solar, and we're trying to encourage people to add, auxiliary dwelling units, ADUs, and we're jumping the rates up. Is that what we want to do?
So it's an extra
Well,
$40.
Well, it
That's-
didn't,
I understand, that's a good point, but
But the
we're really
purpose
looking
of
at,
fees is to collect what
Right.
we spend, on the staff time. And
yeah,
if you think about it, you just signed a new union contract. We haven't raised these rates in 6
Yeah.
years at least.
And again, as much as I want to encourage people to
We're
do
paying
solar
the
panels,
plumbers, inspectors.
Yeah,
all those
like,
inspectors.
$150.
it is still a
It's,
privilege to put a solar panel on your roof.
and it's only, it's
and I will tell you,
$50 more, that's all.
solar is actually
40.
one of the things that it requires building,
A lot.
electrical and fire.
Yeah.
It's
they all
involved, so that
come out.
actually is a
You
lot
need
of,
inspection.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
It'd be
Just asking.
150.
No, it is $150.
No,
That's
No,
it.
it's 90.
It's 90. Would be 90 under the new.
All solar installations,
Where are
right
you?
here, 150. What am I on?
Oh, what am I looking at? Building fee.
Oh, that's the electrical fee. The electrical fee will be 150. And there's
But
another,
Not for solar.
and,
All
and-
solar
and the
installation.
plumbing and plumbing and gas, how would that be 150?
Hold on, yeah.
What are you looking at?
So under building fees, which is the
Page one hundred
the second
forty-six,
chart,
Yeah.
146.
it says solar panels right there increased to 90.
Yep.
Then when you scroll down
Well-
one page,
Plus 1% of
plus
that.
1%,
Mhm.
then you scroll down to the next page. If you look under
Elect-
electrical, it's there at 150. And then if you look under plumbing gas, it's there again.
At 150.
Right.
you do
They
more
all,
than
they all. A solar panel requires multiple
Permits.
Inspections.
permits. You have to pull the building
Right.
permit, an electrical, and the plumbing is really just if there's a generator or
Okay.
gas.
And I think the
Oh.
reason maybe it's surprising a bit, Jerry, too, is when you go through the solar process, they do all this for you. So it's
Yeah, you
part of
don't know
the,
it. Yeah,
and
you
you
don't
don't know
see
it.
it.
So it's really not that much of an increase than what the standard is or what I just paid this past. It's
Yeah.
just that you don't, it's
You don't
broken
see
down,
it.
so it looks different.
It looks
So it
different,
makes sense. No, totally. I
Right.
see.
All this work performed without a permit, double the cost of permit.
Yeah.
So give me an example of that.
we catch you.
Oh,
Yeah.
So if you needed to pay $150 for a permit, okay, you're now gonna have to pay 300
Cause we caught you.
if we catch you.
Yeah.
That would
But-
be somebody putting a shed up in their backyard and not getting a permit.
Right, but
You
I mean,
catch 'em.
depends on what if you built your whole house and didn't put
Yes, yeah,
pull the
yes.
right permits, it's
Yeah, I
gonna be,
understand.
but that's a serious,
But I,
that's a
I
serious
rem-
issue that we want to discuss.
I bought a house in 88 that they had the wrong septic, and then they came and they finally built the second floor without permits. And so my name with the seller is pretty awful since the East Ham made some money out of it.
Not tonight.
Not to,
You just need to tell them what you think.
I mean, I guess the major thrust of this is that we haven't increased the rates for a while. But the nature of these projects, the nature of construction, it's getting more and more complicated. The staff time taken for code interpretation, inspections, and really just, assistance, the phone calls. And if I see it every day, the inspectors are on the phone. They're supposed to be out of here by a certain time in the morning to be off doing inspections. They never leave on time because the phone calls come in. They're walking people through, trying to, figure out
Yeah.
what the right code interpretation, and the majority, I think, put this in my memo, the majority of what we deal with is renovations and additions.
yeah. No, I
So
think this all
just-
makes sense.
That is,
That's
the
right.
nature of that is merging old and new construction, different codes. What are you triggering for new upgrades? And so there's a lot of handholding that comes through.
Yeah.
And
we're
I don't
trying to,
remember the last time this
reflect
is
that.
done.
It hasn't been done for at least,
I think seven,
seven years.
Yeah, I've been on, this is
I-
my
I don't
sixth
think
year and I
we've
never,
done it
yeah,
together.
hadn't done this.
How does
Yeah,
Some of
I
them
think this
haven't
makes a lot of
even
sense.
changed. Before that, they didn't change. They were the same. So not all of them changed that last time we did it.
This
how
was a
does
lot
this
of work.
compare
Thank
it to
you.
other towns?
Yeah, no,
You know?
compared to other
Well-
towns, we were lower, we're higher than a lot, but you were anticipating them going up, Paul?
Yep, so this, and again, on these things go in cycles, so every town kind of leapfrogs. This would put us above most of the other towns, but we actually kind of we're fortunate that most of our inspectors work in the other towns, so kind of we know where the rates are going for the other towns, Truro, Wellfleet, Brewster, so forth. So this was anticipating to be impaired.
Where they're gonna be.
So-
Mhm.
This
Yeah,
is a
but
lot
they're
of
not
work.
outrageous.
This is
No,
great.
no, it's not outrageous.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of
Can't
sense.
read the one, who's this from, the little,
Was
The
there,
baby one, the little teeny
yeah,
weeny?
construction,
yeah,
building construction.
in this discussion, there was something from Linda Saucy. Is that one we want to look at, talk on that fee? She wanted to raise the,
Yeah, we haven't.
Tax
we're gonna
service
do-
fund?
We're gonna do that next.
oh, that's next. Okay,
Separate.
never mind. Sorry, Paul.
It's all right.
Didn't want to put you're not in charge of the clerk.
Anything
Okay.
else on the building
We wanted to
fees?
be able to send all home.
I think
Do
they're
we need a
reasonable.
motion?
No,
No,
Oh,
this is
The
just
first pass.
proposed, yeah.
First
Oh,
pass.
if you like it, we'll have a public hearing and we'll put all the
Okay.
fees that we've decided on.
okay,
in the public hearing.
In January,
Great,
right?
yeah.
We have to do it, yeah.
okay.
Okay,
sorry to give you grief, but it's okay.
No worries. That's
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
good
Paul.
question. Good questions.
Yeah, that was a lot. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is the fee recommendations for recreation and beach. Christine on there? I can't see.
What is a waved
I did
sticker?
not call Christine to let her
See,
know.
it wrote I'll tell you what a wave sticker is.
So
A wave sticker is when,
So how's everybody feel about
Just gonna
these?
go over it.
Is this wave sticker and 3-day beach sticker new?
yes,
Well, they're higher. The wave sticker used to be 25, the same as the taxpayer sticker, right,
Right.
Jackie?
Because it doesn't say here
It
that.
doesn't say that, but it was.
What's a wave sticker mean?
I have one car. If I want to give, I can give someone that doesn't live in town a town sticker.
Why do we have that?
it's a long tradition. People complain because it's not equitable. If you have, I used to say we have 2 stickers per household, but that's really not true because
Yeah.
we don't have 2 stickers
No.
per household. You can have as many stickers as you have
want.
cars.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you are a 1-person household,
Or one car.
a 1-car household, we allow you to waive and give 1 sticker to somebody else, just because some other people have 6 of them. So that
You have to
didn't
pay
seem
for it,
equitable.
not the
And
regular
you-
rate.
You would pay no, currently. you pay the
Currently, you
reg-
pay the regular rate.
Your,
Okay.
your brother lives in Boston and you only have 1 car and you say, hey.
You're down here all the time.
You,
can-
you
I
pass,
can-
you
I
say,
can
we'll get
waive
you a
one
sticker
too."
and you pay
You're not
$25
selling
and
it
he
to me
gets
with
one.
that story.
No,
It's
no,
a
no, I'm not telling you so.
It's not,
So
it
you do
doesn't,
it.
No.
it's not a lot of
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I get it.
But
It's enough that,
It's enough that
Alright.
they feel like, they're behind the 8 ball because
They
they don't have more cars.
okay, that's fair.
And we don't really
Yeah.
care about that. So anyway,
It's fine.
but it's also something that we don't want to give the same value as a beach.
No,
sticker.
yeah,
It should
absolutely
be
not.
more.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
It
that-
should be
that's- so
more,
they-
but it
jump.
doesn't need to be a ton more. It just needs to be enough more so that,
it's a privilege.
yes.
Yeah.
You're just not doling them
Absolutely.
out to
Yeah.
anybody.
So a wave sticker.
Now we know.
So I'm giving my brother a wave sticker, getting a wave sticker for him for $75, and that's good for the season.
Okay.
And
that's
it's, and it's
you-
a resident taxpayer
Taxpayer sticker,
So
so
they
you can
can
go to
use Lost
Coast Guard
Light.
Beach
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Lost
yeah.
Light.
which the visitor stickers can't.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Don't let the seashore know that, we're in big trouble.
No,
All right.
no.
That's what,
But-
that's what it is.
Yeah.
If I say,
you.
if I don't do that,
Something new every day.
and he's
I feel like
gonna
the
be
later
down
these
here,
meetings go, the more it
He has to
defines
buy
them.
one.
he can buy a 3-day beach sticker for $75.
Yep. Well, we don't have the 3-day right now, and so people will come
People want that.
and
For a
it's like
weekend.
we have to sell, they have to either pay the $30 a day or they have to buy a week sticker.
Yeah.
So there's no week one on here.
But
This
because
is
we're not
just
using
changing.
it.
We're not
We
using
have-
What is a week one?
Say it's.
200?
Yeah.
Something?
Say 150 or
225,
200.
Yeah.
225,
Something like that.
It's less than, it's more than $30 a day.
right.
No,
No,
it
it's not
can't be
more than
more than,
$30.
it's gotta be,
30 is 210.
it's
210.
gotta
Yeah,
be,
So it
the-
might be 200.
I want to say it's
180,
150.
200.
I'm sorry, I didn't make.
That's right.
It's okay, I'm just trying to understand.
All right.
I can tell my brother he's got a pound salt. All right,
Pickle heads. play.
so let's talk about
Let's talk about the taxpayer beach sticker, because you haven't allowed us to raise that fee
yeah, because
since long before I've been here.
we get grief from people that say, in Orleans, you don't have to pay at all.
No.
Now they do.
Now they do?
How they
That's
do.
more than us,
This
I
year
think.
they have to pay.
Oh, it's $30.
Yeah.
Well, I suddenly feel better about this one.
See,
When I
I
moved
won't,
here,
I
it was
won't get
5.
grief.
now granted, you still will get a lot of pushback on this one, and it's not essential,
sure.
it's just that we haven't done it, and I think if you, each year, we're gonna put it before you, because again, we don't want to get in the situation where
We get
You
followed.
gotta raise it
wait
to
for
50.
10
and
years
it's
and
gotta
then
go to
we,
50.
yes.
Oh, I just love the idea of us having the cheapest beach sticker.
Yeah.
Let's
But-
keep it
Yeah,
25.
Yeah.
25.
We're gonna
Now,
raise
that
the
would
other
say-
ones.
All the others. Yeah.
We're just looking at it
I'm
again.
just, I know you guys, and this is what we do. We have to talk about it and think about it and then come back with some no, but it's true.
Oh, you're right.
It's okay. It's all,
just getting
it's all
late.
right.
I'm
And
getting-
Rich and I, when we're doing these, the department heads have good justification for
Yeah.
these. They don't make these requests
Right, yeah.
willy-nilly.
Yeah.
But, we know that you have different perspectives, so it's good to think about it and take a pause and.
Yeah.
Because sometimes one of us will think of something that someone else didn't.
Yeah, it's.
Sorry.
Yeah, I like keeping that one at 25, but I think raising the others makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because replacement sticker, that's a hassle for.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it's also last year, the taxpayer beach sticker was the one that our revenue jumped up this summer.
That's right. We sold more
And
than
then we
ever
saw a lot
last year.
more than ever on that. Be interested, okay, we
Yeah,
say
I'm
25, we'll
keeping
see it next year.
And that's why when we add things like the 3-day beach sticker, sometimes, we have to be careful that it doesn't cut down on the daily
Right, yeah,
revenue.
that's right.
Like this year, we were low on daily revenue because of all those rainy days.
Oh, it was every weekend it
weekend.
rained.
Yeah, so.
But we also had the motels could buy the 10,
There's like a.
was there one, was there a pack?
Nobody did it.
Nobody bought it?
I don't think so, no.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
well then, now
That
we
was
know.
interesting. I didn't know that.
I think we should still make that available though. I think that's a.
Maybe publicize it some more.
Maybe the
chamber can
tourism,
publicize
yeah.
It can be an amenity when they do their.
Right,
new
right.
fund.
Okay,
They can subsidize it.
so we're all agreed that we don't want to raise the beach sticker, but taxpayer beach sticker, but everything else looks okay.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about the pickleball court use.
Oh, yeah. So this came from them, just so you know.
This came from.
This request came from the pickleball people.
Well, the
They want us
request
to
came to
check.
restrict the usage,
Right.
Yes,
not the $50 charge.
no.
They're okay with
Okay,
that.
just want to make sure we're clear.
But I think they're okay with that.
Well, we haven't tested it out. I'm sure they will complain
So-
about it. but-
So what this means is
Mhm.
that you're gonna get a pickleball sticker of
Right.
some sort.
Fob, maybe.
Something
Oh,
that could be
whatever.
attached to your
Yeah.
pickleball bag.
Okay. And when you go to use the pickleball court, you have to show that. You'll have to, if anybody asks, you'll have to show it.
Right.
Question is, who will ask?
Well, my sense is that like any other user group, the pickleball users
Oh, I bet they'd be.
will
savage.
definitely call us if they see an illegal pickleball player.
And so this is $50 a year
Yes,
Right near the police station.
and anybody can buy.
no,
No.
this is only for taxpayers.
Resident and non-resident taxpayers.
Yes, the whole purpose of it is to give the taxpayers time on the courts
yeah.
when no one else can use it.
Understand
Mornings,
that.
right? Is it just mornings or is?
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think she did a schedule of 3 days a week.
Oh, okay.
It says here she's working on the rules.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think what we looked at was 3 days a week, 1 weekend day and like 2 mornings and 1 afternoon, so that, there's optional times.
Now, that would be restricted hours. That wouldn't be the permit. Would be the
During
permit
those restricted hours, you'd have to have the permit.
only in the
only
restrict,
until-
otherwise
right.
it's first come, first served.
Yes,
No, wait a minute,
yes.
wait a
Right.
minute.
You pay $50 for exclusive.
In certain times,
Other times you can use it for free.
Yes.
Right.
yeah.
And $50, that was what we came up with. You can play with that figure too.
And it's,
Well, let's see what her schedule looks like.
It just seems like a lot of money.
$50
Yeah, it
for
does.
this whole season.
Yeah,
How much do you pay for a tennis court rental at Willie's?
I don't,
I don't pay.
Yeah, but isn't that like $20 an hour?
I don't know.
Right
I don't
answer.
pay. Cause I'm a life member, so I get it free.
Even court
What
time?
if you were to play on like the hard true courts? That's extra.
No,
There's some extra
I
tennis
thought
fee.
there was.
I just, it's a good comparison. I'll find out.
Okay,
I'll find out. It's a very good comparison.
yeah. If they don't charge,
but it's not.
I mean, I think it's like the purpose of the fee is because now we have something we have to regulate and monitor that we didn't have before. So we can not do it, but they want us to do it. And we have to regulate and monitor it, which means honestly, what I thought of is adding it to we have 1 employee every day. Alls they do is drive around to all the beaches and check stickers and permits and all that stuff. We would add this to that route. So they would just come and at the times, somewhere during that time, they would come, drive by and make sure everybody has their sticker.
Okay,
how do you-
everybody stop. Wait a minute, I'm coming out. Let me see your.
Well,
Or
tell
how do
them
you
to
feel
put
about
their
making it
bags
30,
in a
like-
bright place.
Would that feel better?
What?
If it was close, like.
No, I don't, no, I'd like to go back. I
don't
think
think so
Jackie
either.
brought up a good point. on what do you pay for a tennis
Sport
court?
rental, yeah.
It just $50 just kind of from 0 to 50 just seemed high, but that, I'm
I
okay.
think it
Makes
could be
sense.
25,
I'm okay.
if you want 25.
We have somebody do it. And therefore we would have to continue to do it, but let's.
Yeah.
I'm here and I pay the 50, I'm just questioning what they're thinking.
So you'd get,
I pay the $50
Mhm.
and my 3 kids are in town
Mhm.
and 4 of us go over and play and it's restricted to residents at 10 o'clock.
yeah,
on
that's
this
it. Does your
day.
fob work?
Can Jerry and his 3 kids play pickleball at that time with my permit? I mean, I don't.
So I
that's
would
one of
say, that's interesting. That's an interesting question.
And that's also a
So,
very real scenario.
If you had a beach sticker, all 3 of your kids could ride in the car and go to
Okay.
the beach and
They
do
sure
that.
do.
So my guess is that yes, but you would have to be present. The actual
Yeah, this,
sticker
gotta be
holder has to be present. It's not, you can't send your grandkids here to play.
no, but I think that's.
But see, it's
something to
already
think
getting complicated.
of. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
At 4 and then 2 of you can be sitting down and do it. It sounds like.
Yeah,
They always play
that's the
4
question.
though.
If
They
you,
always play doubles, I think.
well, not
Pickleball?
always, but most of
never
the
seen
time,
a single.
most of the time. But that's another question.
And this is a group of residents and taxpayers
Yeah,
who
if you-
want to do this together.
If
You
you
read
come
the stuff.
to play with someone else that's not a resident, does your fob, not a family member, does your fob allow you to play with somebody
You must get to show up by yourself.
that
No,
doesn't have
you
a
have
fob?
to have a fob.
Just come back when it's not required.
Right, set
I
up the
mean,
time when it's not
But these are
required.
all questions that people are gonna be
Okay.
asked, so we should define all that stuff.
Okay,
Because you could also have, just like we do in shellfish, you could have a family shellfish, family pickleball.
Oh,
fob,
boy.
And a single person pickleball.
this is why the
fob.
rec
Yeah, what's a
commission said,
fob?
no, we don't want to do this.
Oh, they said no?
Okay, all right. Can we move on?
Yep.
Okay,
Now,
so that I'm gonna put a big question mark.
now the town manager's report with the new picture.
Are you gonna
Don't
talk
have the
about
fees?
the rental registration fee?
We're,
Yeah,
And
that
the
went up also.
The Linda Saucy.
Treasurer's office fee and.
Yeah, we
Oh, I'm
got several
sorry.
more.
I'm sorry.
We're not done.
Now we have treasurer's office. We're just, the first one is just making it consistent with state law.
If you bounce a check.
If you're about to check, I don't care what the fee is.
Well, it'll be $25 or 1% over $25. So
Mhm.
it would be $30 for 3,000. It would be $40 for 4,000.
Mhm.
But a lot of places charge 30 or 35 now for a bounce check. So I don't think that's unreasonable to,
Bounce a check.
Yeah.
Well, the bank's gonna
$25, But if it's a
charge
check
you
you
on
bounce
top of
over 2,500, it's
but it sounds, it's
1%.
and then this other fee
It's like someone's property tax.
It's a
check.
new fee.
is a new fee, but I don't think residents are going to be requesting that. I think that's a service that requests that, like a mortgage company or,
$1,000.
yeah, for tax service files.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So those are, we're going to be charging
Thanks
companies, not
Yeah.
humans.
Okay,
That's, yeah. Okay, that's fair.
So do those seem okay?
What? I missed it. What's the
Sorry.
tax?
It's
tax
like a
service?
company, a mortgage company will request these files and they just have to be put together by the
Oh,
treasurer's office and
It's
we
not for
don't charge
residents,
anything
yeah.
for them. And so,
that's what I just didn't know what it was, what a tax service fee was. Okay.
and then the biggie,
This brings it in line with the surrounding towns.
is
Short-term
the rental
Whoa.
registration program.
We were way behind the other towns, though. I think this is a good move.
$350?
Yeah, that's what all the surrounding towns are doing.
Is it $350?
Well, there's only one other town that has the same program and they charge $750.
That's Provincetown.
Right.
What's,
So 350
what's the
is.
program?
Brooster doesn't do inspection.
Registration.
Oh,
and
registration.
testing,
Oh, we do
True and
testing.
Wesley don't
Yeah,
do
We do the water test.
Yeah.
Orleans is just starting, but they haven't,
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it's gone through town meeting last year or it's going this
I
year, but
think it was this past
I thought
year.
it was too, but I don't think they've set up the program.
Well, how do you know whether it's a year-round rental or it's a short-term rental?
Well, that's the big question, right? Because I personally, when I was talking to Karen, the clerk for this, I think we do not have 200 year-round rentals. The last time I checked was 2 years ago, and I think it was 89. We had 89 year-round rentals. I think what
registered year-round rentals.
Right, what people are checking the box when they get to self, assess, as he would say, the chamber guy. They're saying, oh, I rent my house is available to rent year round.
Oh,
So we have to actually, if we're gonna do this, we have to actually make some proof, like we did with the childcare program. They have to bring in a lease or a letter from their landlord or a utility bill or something.
How
So
about just making them all 350?
no.
No, because we want to
Not for
encourage
year-round. We
year-round
want to encourage
rentals.
people to do year-round rentals. We don't. Well,
It's gonna be a lot of work to try and
Two hundred
figure it
fifty
out.
dollars?
I don't think so. I think it's
there's
just a
80
requirement.
some-
You have to provide the documentation. It's just like providing a checklist of what you have to bring when you're.
even for like an ADU, you have to
Yeah.
sign an affidavit saying it's a year-round rental. That's
Yeah.
all.
No, I think this makes sense.
Because they're filling out paperwork anyway.
I mean,
You just
I can tell
attach
you
that
from our
affidavit to it.
stuff with the preschool, when it's a problem, it's a problem. It's like they'll tell you the whole story. And usually we've been able to find one thing that they have that they can prove
Yeah.
to us.
I mean,
This, I think, is more cut and dried. If you're getting money from someone to rent your house, wouldn't there be some documentation?
Gotta be
right?
some-
If you're
there's gotta
doing
be the-
something
yeah.
legally, you should have easy access to all
Yeah.
this.
That
is-
and an affidavit,
Yeah.
just like with the ADU, that
This is the renter or not the rentee?
No, this is the renter.
Renter, not the rentee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. The DOR registration, you're required.
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense.
So, and I think I told the health agent and the health clerk that I would share with you that they are very concerned about this. They think, 878 people are going to yell at them and it's going to be dicey. And I understand that, but I also understand that we have a housing crisis.
Yeah.
And we really I can't figure out a way. Plus, we also have Rachel's salary and the short-term rental registration clerk salary that's not coming out of this money, and it should be. So,
We're just talking about the fact that we're not staying in line with our fees and then we end up falling behind and having to do, so
Right.
bring it up to.
and Susan did say to me that this went up. It was 50 and it went up to 75 6 years ago, but I don't remember that, but I
I
guess
thought
it
it was
did.
longer than that. But
I
But
think this
still,
makes
6
sense.
years, it hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's time.
So we could do it now. We could wait a year and do it like we do with the short-term
I just do it now.
rental tax.
If you do it, just might as well do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
With the art.
we'd have to send out a letter because they send out these letters. The year-round rentals are supposed to register in January. Their rental registration starts January to January, just so they split it up a little. They don't have, all of them coming in at once. So they've already sent out something that said that was $75. So that letter went out to the year-round rentals. So that's the only hesitation I have. I'd have to correct that at this point.
it's
Or-
just
It'd be
year-round
confu-
rentals.
Right.
It'd be
I'd say
confusing.
Start with the
Put-
short term and then do the
Exactly.
year round
Next
as
year.
of
Next
next
year.
January.
Yeah,
Yep,
Yeah, don't
exactly.
confuse them.
No.
that makes sense.
Okay.
But we're gonna hear a
And
lot
it
of
is, it's,
noise.
We can be reasonable, Jackie.
I know, I did, I know you can. I did look online. I went on Vrbo and I went on Airbnb to look at how many rental units we have. And we do have over 1,000 on both of those sites.
Oh
Now,
my
some
God.
of them are the same.
You're right.
So I don't think we have a lot more that are unregistered, but I think we still have some that are unregistered. And the lowest rental is almost $1,500 a week, which is a tiny cottage. And the highest is $12,000 a week. And the average is somewhere around $6,600 a week. Wow. So I understand that we're asking them to add,
Glad I own.
if you rent it for 12 weeks out of the year, it's adding $30 to each rental week, this new fee. So I get it. They have to pay the short-term rental tax. Now we're raising the fees, but
Or just pay it out of the profit you're making off those ridiculous rental rates.
well, I think
No.
though that would work for some of the high-end people, but there are low-end people that, you know.
Some people are depending on that rent to pay for the place.
Yeah.
It's not like they're making a lot of money. Some
I
people
understand
are.
that, but I believe that if they added $30 to their rental, that they would still rent it.
No, I'm not saying they wouldn't, but let's not make it sound like these people are all making a fortune because they're renting their houses.
No, some are and some aren't.
That UMass study for P-Town showed that they don't make enough, even on short-term rental to cover it all. For the
Okay.
P-Town prices.
Anything else on this?
So
one?
we're gonna move forward with that.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Why not? I'm not taking the calls.
No, they're gonna yell it. They're gonna be very mad.
You know, I'm sure,
Why
we're
did you
gonna,
change your
the
picture?
next part-time
You're
resident.
the chair.
I know.
Next Deperta meeting, we're gonna
Okay,
hear about.
so, Art made fun of my other picture,
Why?
I didn't. I said that was the best picture of you I ever saw.
but then this
I know.
picture, Rich pointed out, is a little bit depressing. I look
I
a little
like the other
sad
picture better.
and beleaguered.
I like the other picture better.
Well, beleaguered is okay. You are beleaguered.
You just look like you were ready to take on,
Yeah, I did. It was a happy picture.
Stratford Capital.
See, and this looks like a depressed Jack.
You just look serious.
I like
You
the
look
other-
too serious,
the
yes.
picture is
You
fantastic.
look
I'm
serious.
not making
The other
fun.
one, you just look
That's
like
not
you
right.
were.
I thought it was a great picture of you.
But every 2 years you have to change it. Like, I don't want to be one of those writers
Well,
that
it
has
takes a
the
year to change
the
from
book on the back.
town administrator to town manager.
The book
What a
on
wait.
the back cover, is
Oh,
the
yeah.
picture when they were 30 and they're now 87.
It's not the case.
Okay.
Change your clock, change your batteries, now you gotta change.
Change your, change your headshot, yeah.
Just don't take
Who took
mine.
this picture?
I did. I'll change it back. I took all
Would you
of
go
them.
like this?
really-
Zoom, send me
Yes,
that?
that's my office. See, I thought I'd do it at work instead of in my bathroom this time and
The kinder, gentler.
TMI.
Right,
Too
you want- you wanna
much
talk about the-
information. Too much information.
It's your turn.
so we'll work on the picture and I have one
Fun
additional thing for my report and you are going to be pleased, except maybe for you, Art. Dorothy from the COA had applied for a grant to do hybrid programming at the COA to be a hub for hybrid programming. So basically the grant will allow us to upgrade all of their technology over there and hire a staff person to do specific programming that can stream into people's homes.
Wow.
So like hiring an IT type person.
Exactly. So it's an ARPA funded grant through the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And the town of Eastham has been awarded $100,000.
Nice.
So we have
That's
$34,000 to upgrade all the equipment. And this is made possible because under the water system, we have to attach our well, the well house, to a good fast internet connection because of our SCADA system, our system that operates the well. So basically, it'll go right past the COA. So we knew that we could bring internet that was more reliable to
not
the
fiber,
COA
is it?
site.
It
It's
is
fiber. Yes.
Wow. How are you gonna get there? Are you gonna come all the way down Nauset or are you gonna?
No, it's gonna come down to the well. So the COA and the well.
Across the street is where the.
Yeah, I
road-
know, but I'm wondering where it's gonna come before then and
Well,
if
we could,
anybody.
yeah,
can
we're,
commit to
Go
it.
down bracket.
it has to go down Brackett to get there.
Oh,
Yes,
Right.
it does.
I
Yeah.
understand. I know.
we're all vying. for-
Anyhow, it'll happen because it's Rich is, working on it, but anyway, so
Me and Jerry next to each other.
they will have new monitors, new cameras, new everything over there. And I think it's going to be great because if we want to expand, like Devon's going to be involved in it. They're going to put all the equipment in and then part of the equipment installation is a training. So Dorothy's already got a training date and staff will be able to go over and learn how to do it so that if, we want to do something thing. If Kayla wants to use it, if Devin wants to use it for other town business, we can. But I think I just want to congratulate Dorothy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, she has done a lot in the past year and a half to really beef up programming, and this is a brave step. We're the only Council on Aging on Cape Cod who has gone for this money, and so
That's great.
she'll be able to do some more regional programming. So kudos to
There's
Dorothy.
a lot of great programs.
Yes.
That are happening at COA. I mean, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Is going on.
Their board is very active. I think Dorothy
Joan.
is really listening.
Yeah.
And it's a revival over there. And this is just going to be great because I think with our ARPA health grant, the 4-town health grant, one of the goals of that grant is to get rec and COA in the same sharing.
Well, and you're
So,
already moving that, yeah.
so this is going to be, I think it's going to work
We're ahead
together
of the game.
nicely with,
Right on.
Great.
so 100 grand.
Dang.
I
That's,
just want to thank Devin too. Devin's been
Yes, Devin's been helping.
working hard with Dorothy, getting all the equipment, similar equipment to what we have here.
all right, you too.
So it'll be another, essentially another meeting site that's available to us
Yeah.
as well as this program.
Okay.
So
Cool.
It's going to be very good. All right, so that's the
Okay. Any new and upcoming agenda items or follow-up?
I have one. So I know everybody was at the, is it a charrette, master planning charrette? Charrette.
Charette.
Okay. Paul was incredible. Paul did a great job running that. And one of the things that kind of came out of that I thought I'd bring up was we were hearing a lot from people, and I've been hearing a lot from the public too, that they want, write more updates on everything from tea time to the zoning to how do we communicate to people
Yep.
these updates. And one of the ideas I had was that because all of these things are so intertwined and woven together, right? The zoning is dependent on wastewater, is dependent on tea time, is dependent, all these things touch each other. Is there some way to make some type of visual flow chart that we could include
Oh.
in the email that you send out, Jackie, to make these concepts tangible? Because I think that's what folks have trouble with. Everything is so conceptual. that
Yeah.
You can't see it. You
And,
can't
and if we
touch it.
could do that, we could use that at town meeting too.
Yeah, and we
So
can
we
start
have
using it now and
different
kind of train people.
Iterations of that, like
Yeah.
Jane used bubbles. She had like
Right.
bubbles, connected bubbles.
Yep.
Kayla's done a timeline for me.
I like the bubble thing. I think the
yeah.
timeline can be a little hard to understand how things actually
Yes,
touch.
yes.
And the nice thing about like more of a flow chart, like maybe what I think Jane used, was that it shows how these things actually do affect each other.
Yeah, so we have had a piece of them.
He's all set for bubbles. He's not.
He's ready for the bubbles? Was that a part of the presentation? Were there some bubbles?
No,
No.
I think he likes
Oh,
the
they weren't.
bubbles. He likes bubbles.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it does, it gives people a visual representation of how
Yeah.
things are interconnected to help them kind of understand that a little bit better. 'cause
I like
otherwise-
that, and we will work on that.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the sooner we can start, the better we'll become town meeting because we've trained people to kind of understand that process.
Yeah.
Not train them, but like help bring them up to speed, because it's not like, you just want them to understand the process.
Yeah.
Right, and you just, we do this in meetings, we go full circle, it's like, oh, why can't we do this now? Okay, we could do this, but we can't do that, oh, we have to wait for wastewater, it's like.
That was the hard thing trying to explain to some of the
Yes,
people at the
oh, yeah.
charrette about the traffic,
Mhm.
Route 6,
Right.
wastewater. People say, oh, you can't do anything until you do that. No, they all kind of have
They all
to
kinda
happen
have
at
to
the
happen
same
together.
time, which
We
is
may
tricky.
not get all of them, but we will have made progress on enough of them so that maybe we can hopefully
Resolve some of them.
Yeah. Operationalize some of this.
Yeah, but yeah, I think communicating that is the tricky part, because all of us, especially as staff, they do it every day.
Yeah.
So to us, it's like, well, it's obvious.
It's been happening,
But
right?
to somebody who, is working
No, I
5 days
get
a
it.
week and pays attention.
And
to
that's the
town stuff
feedback we
twice a
got
year.
from Mary Nee too, and I understand
that's
that
who-
we
yeah.
need to,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, great.
we need to work on it.
That it? All right. Anybody else have any follow-up they want?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Oh, I guess do the minutes first.
Did we tape the charrette?
I'll make a motion to approve
They
the minutes
were taping it.
Part of it,
Part of
okay,
it,
good.
yeah.
of November 20th, 2023, regular session.
second.
Any discussion? Okay, vote. Jamie?
Aye.
Barry?
Yes.
Amy?
Aye.
March and I. Okay, now you can make your motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Discussion? Everybody agree? Yeah.
Yes,
Aye.
aye.
Thank you.
I'm hungry.